Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, Toni Storm has a nightmare with the crowd on AEW Dynamite.
A major update on Vince McMahon's involvement in WWE Creative.
Ooh, we're going to tell you what AEW really thinks of wrestlers drinking blood.
And the long-missing AEW star is finally close to a return. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
All right then, on this quite slow news day, we're going to talk about Chants on AEW Dynamite, which I don't think I've heard for a while.
No.
And it comes just like 2 weeks after the other rebellious chant in pro wrestling, CM Punk, happened on WWE Raw when Akira Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura were wrestling. We talked about that one at the time. Today, we're talking about Toni Storm getting chants in the middle of her segment. So this was like a pre-advertised segment. It was the championship coronation or inauguration, whatever word they use. Acceptance speech, that's it. And they kind of gimmicked it up like an awards thing because, like, she was sitting in the crowd. RJ City and Renee Paquette said that she'd won the title or whatever. It turned black and white. She fell over, which was funny. Like, I popped at that. I think it was probably on purpose.
An homage to Jennifer Lawrence, perhaps.
There you go. And she hit the top of the stage. He goes, I've not prepared anything. And that's a funny bit, pulling out the big list of paper. She started going through some thank yous, and then she started speaking to all the little Toni Storms out there. You're not going to make it, which is a positive message for the youth. Lufa was there, although I think he's Lufer again. I think they've changed it back, which is weird.
They've ruined it.
And Mariah May came along as well.
Oh yeah, she presented her with the title.
She did. She's doing like the All About Eve story at the moment. But during Toni Storm's sentences, towards the end, there were some chants. She was delivering her line. The crowd went what? Blah 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 blah. What? Blah 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 blah. What? Now these were not particularly prolonged, and they were not particularly loud either. It's not like the whole arena was going what like they would back in the day. However, it's something a wrestler never wants because it's a sign of rebellion.
Yes.
It's a sign of we're not really into this, so we're gonna get ourselves over with this. And anytime this stuff, it's kind of a product of a bygone era. We don't really talk about rebellious crowds much anymore. WWE doesn't get them.
No,
AEW,
they've all gone to AEW. Like WWE, they'll go to AEW. Makes sense.
It seems that way. And AEW fans haven't historically just SHAT on things. I was trying to figure out how to say sha without
got it.
popping the sense out.
Pooped on it.
Poop. A wee bit
of a
poop. So yeah, it's a weird thing to see happen. I will say this about the Toni Storm gimmick, right? I think that it's quite healthy, regardless of whether you like something or not. It's quite healthy to listen to what other people think about it, because you can be into I like some of the most unpopular stuff in the world. But if you're listening, you get a sense of what people are into. You can offer a more nuanced, objective take on things. Like me, for example, I'm not really into the MJF Adam Cole stuff, but I appreciate that when Roddy Strong comes on camera and goes, Adam, the entire building does it with him, right? That shows that it's connecting with people and it's getting over, and you have to acknowledge that it's being effective. That's a good way to analyze pro wrestling. Toni Storm does not sound like she's over in these buildings.
No.
And we're not in those buildings, so we don't have a true gauge. But I don't think this is working with the majority of live fans. At least people on the internet love it.
Yeah.
But
it's one of those, isn't it? Like you say, if you dare to suggest something like this online, then you'll get savaged by people saying it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And large parts of wrestling should be subjective, if not all of it.
All of it should be.
And look, I liked the transformation into timeless Toni Storm. I think they might be over-egging the pudding somewhat now. But it made sense, arguably, to do an acceptance speech for a actress wrestler character who's just won gold.
The gimmick.
But also, people have the right to say, I'd really quite like to get back to the Continental Classic, or just see, I don't know, maybe have 2 women's matches on the show instead of a gimmick thing and then the triple threat that follows.
Yeah. I think these are all very, very fair points. And I think
good luck going on Twitter today, though.
Yeah, this is it. And always when this happens, it's been a case of the crowd's taking the show hostage. But I've always been of the view that unless it's something really disrespectful, like something really offensive, that it's on the company and the wrestlers to provide something that's entertaining enough for them to not want to rebel against it, right? It's your job to compel a reaction from the crowd. It's not the crowd's job to do anything. You have to get those reactions out of them. So I think it's a tricky thing, and it feels like we're sitting here recording a video in 2018.
Yes.
Because Chants are mostly dead, and these weren't terribly loud. But do let us know what you think down in the comments section below.
I'm intrigued by this, yeah.
Yeah, like of the Chants, of Toni Storm's character in general, is it working for you? Is it not? I was really into it myself for a couple of weeks, but it's maybe gotten a bit too silly for me. But there's one guy.
Check this out for a segue. Speaking of Toni Storm and potentially bad creative, Vince McMahon. God, he booked her terribly on the main roster. Ugh. His creative influence has not completely been removed from WWE, although the promotion's output is now subject to less interference, according to SI's Justin Barrasso. He's done a big report on this. Triple H is now in a position where he's been emboldened by parent company Endeavor to lead WWE creative. Levesque has been knighted by Endeavor, assuming around 99.9% of creative control, which is fantastic news. Barrasso continues, there is less interference from Vince McMahon, which is not to imply McMahon is entirely removed from the process. After parts of 5 decades spent as the company's be-all, end-all, McMahon's fingerprints remain all across the company. It's basically like Dettol removes 99.9% of germs. That's what you got here, basically. And in his conversation with Sports Illustrated, Paul Levesque commented, Vince taught me years ago, you put yourself in the seats and you'll never go wrong. You've always got to maintain that perspective. I started out as a fan, book what people want to feel and see, and I think he's been doing a great job, to be perfectly honest. It's not a 100% hit rate by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the age-old thing, which I get. You know, if you're a Fed head, it's one thing. If you're an AEW fan, it's something else. It's an incredibly low bar to clear.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
If we sat there and put 2 episodes of Raw or SmackDown up against a show from 4 years ago, it is night and day, but it is also not the best wrestling show ever, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it has vastly improved since Vince has been removed from creative.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a funny quote, though, isn't it? That if you put yourself in the fans' seats, you'll never go wrong. It's like, man, I can think of a fair few times that Vince didn't follow that advice.
Yeah. But I also like the idea of Triple H sitting there going, I think the fans want to see me go over, so
maybe I should make a comeback. But Triple H has obviously done a much better job of satisfying the audience than Vince did, particularly in his last few years. I think unless you just really love Vince's creative, the past year and a half has been just really good and really positive. Yeah. And also, it's nice hearing stories about people enjoying coming to work more often and stuff. Because for years, it felt like the only WWE backstage reports we were covering from WWE were they're all pissed. Yeah. Now it's a lot better.
And then the numbers bear it out, not just ratings, but in terms of look at Survivor Series ticket sales. It's ridiculous. They basically have to gone from we're gonna have the big old stage to we'll just have a door that they walk through, basically, and someone will just hold up a sign that says the wrestler's name because we've got no other space. Because I think that's a sign that people are keen to attend, not just Fed's in town and I always go to the Fed, so I'll go and watch the Fed.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting debate to subscribe to, and this is an interesting channel to subscribe to.
I love it.
That was atrocious. But yeah, if you've not clicked the button down below, please do so. It really helps us out. We love you. We appreciate you. You can get this stuff straight to your notifications if you ring the bell as well.
Ding ding.
Subscribe to the lads. Let's roll over into our next story.
Beethoven.
Well, Beethoven was into drinking blood, wasn't he?
Yes, big fan
of the dog, and the composer. Do you want to know what AEW really thinks about the blood spot?
What do they think?
They thought it was good. Obviously, Hangman Page. I almost called him Hangman Swerve there. Hangman Swerve
hell of a team. I wouldn't want to fight him, to be honest.
Page Strickland, the 2 best wrestlers. What am I doing? They had a Texas Death Match at the pay-per-view, Full Gear, at the weekend. And in that Texas Death Match, there was a spot where Hangman Page got on the floor and Swerve was bleeding. So Hangman Page was like, I'm going to drip that blood into my mouth and then I'm going to spit it out. Some people thought it was the worst thing they've ever seen. I thought it was bloody awesome and really badass because I am a freak. Pro wrestling is for the freaks.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of debate on this spot, right? There's been a lot of silliness online. You're entitled not to You can think it's disgusting. That's okay. That's cool. It is disgusting.
I think it's just also been a lot of bad faith takes on this one.
Well, the one I saw about AEW has just killed its female audience. And it's like, how do you know that, male writer?
Yeah.
Like, what's your metric for this? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see.
Both of them are absolute pieces. Well, they still look better than I did.
Yeah.
And they were bleeding out of every orifice, basically.
And it was funny because, like, literally every female wrestling pundit tweeted afterwards going, what are you talking about? It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I digress. There's a report here from Fightful Select noting they're talking about speculation that maybe the spot was unplanned because it was so wild.
Jesus.
It wasn't.
Of course not.
Nah, they pitched it, they went over it, and the producer of the match approved it.
We did a report, 6 months ago, that all the rules were going to change in AEW? You think that for the death match, they went, yeah, just go out there and wing it, lads.
Yeah, do whatever you want, boys. Just kill each other, it's fine. It's noted as well that the AEW in general were very happy with how the match came off. So there you go. Look, it's totally fine to not like that stuff. Like, if that turns you away, change the channel. Like,
I'm not a deathmatch guy.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved it.
But, you know, it's not... I'm not going to go, oh, God, that's enough. I'm never watching AEW ever again. You just go, well, that's not for me, but I can appreciate the work that's gone into it and the sacrifices that the two performers have had to make. But to be honest, on the show, I preferred this match, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And there's so many, it's like MJF is always saying, there are so many flavors of ice cream, man. There's vanilla, there's strawberry, there's butter pecan, there's blood, which is what we got here. That's what Hangman Page is into.
I do. My favourite flavour of ice cream is raspberry ripple, right? Which does basically just look like vanilla has been bled in it.
Yeah.
By
That's
Swerve.
fair. That's fair, yeah. I mean, maybe Hangman took a trip to the dairy afterwards.
Oh, I really want some ice cream for breakfast now. I hate that you've done this to me.
Mint chalk chip for me. Bit cliche,
Yeah.
but it's good, isn't it?
Can we go and get some ice cream?
Let us know your favourite ice cream flavour in the comment section below. I think the only
There's
place...
going to be a row about that and what chance.
Yeah, man. It's
My
fun.
favourite flavour of ice cream is chocolate. What?
Yeah. Let us know your favourite
Yes.
ice cream flavour in the section below. I think the only place we can buy like fresh ice cream from here is Burger King. So I don't know about that. But shouts to the King. I love the King.
Yeah.
I'm not. Chili Heatwave Doritos chicken fries.
Check it
Oh my god, as you would say.
Let's move on. If you're wondering,
What is this video?
Andy, if you've been wondering when Mark's going to be coming back,
That's it. That's enough. Bye. See you later.
I said he wasn't going to like it before we came in here. Mark Quinn is finally coming back to AEW after a long injury absence, reports Fightful Select. He hasn't wrestled since basically this time last year, November 30th. He's coming back. He's come crawling back.
All right. That Christ almost fell over.
He's coming
I
back.
was trying to make it an elaborate surprise.
Pop up.
like a little jack in the. He ruined it.
He's been out of action, unfortunately, with a shoulder injury since last year. He was actually backstage recently, according to Fightful Select, in AEW with the promotion. Hopefully, he'll be able to get back wrestling sooner rather than later. Now, no word on whether or not Creative has him coming back very soon. Thunder Rosa's recently been cleared, and they're just holding off on her return as well. So they might not decide to bring him back until the new year, but we don't know on that. But the most important thing here, because I love Mark Quinn and Private Party, and excited to see them him and them back together in the ring.
Yeah, for sure. They've every single time I see Isaiah Cassidy on screen with the Hardys. He's been doing the Brothers A thing with them, of course. I'm like, oh, Mark Quinn's been gone for ages. What on earth is going on? And it seems like there's been very few updates on his situation. I just figured he had a bad injury, and that's the case. So yeah, good for him. Nice to hear he's on the way back. I wonder what they'll do with them and the Private Party and the Hardys when he comes back to TV and stuff. But yeah, they're like year one AEW people. They had they got off the ground against the Young Bucks, of course, and they're an institution in the company. They're part of the furniture, you might say. Well, no, that makes it sound like they just exist because they're good.
Yeah, when we see them, I always say, "Oh my God, is that Private Party?"
They're part of the company's identity. There you go. Yeah.
Excited to see Mark Quinn back in the ring with his awesome hairstyles. I love all the weird stuff that he does with that. Right, let's move over to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Axel JMO. What a name!
Nice.
I've not seen last night's Dynamite yet, so forgive me if this makes no sense. But could Sammy Guevara be the devil?
I know there's a popular theory that Don Callis might be the devil
That's
right
what
at the
Hamlet
moment.
thinks.
He does indeed. So I mean that ties in with that obviously because he's in the Don Callis family. I don't think they'll go down the Sammy route. I think that at this stage maybe Sammy kind of being like the secondary figure to Don Callis is a good role for him. and his strengths as a performer. I think he's very good. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be Jack Perry. Personally.
Yeah, but we heard his laugh, didn't we, last night for the first time? It could be Adam Cole, the dynamic of like, oh, he was out there, but he got someone in production to play a clip so you wouldn't think it was him.
Imagine that. Adam Cole can't wrestle for like another 6 months. Yeah. We have the devil for another 6 months, brother. Oh.
It does. I don't like seeing Adam Cole, only because it reminds me when I used to have to wear a moon boot around the WhatCulture office, and it was just, it was awful. And I'd like slightly tweaked my ankle. It's
like that time you came to move my sofa wearing a moon boot. I was like, God.
That was, right. Quick story about that. So I said down, yeah, I'll come around and help you, no problem. No worries. I'd not done any injuries. I'd not because I think the last time I had to wear it, I'd broken my toe playing football or whatever, right? So I was like, yeah, no worries. That morning, me and Anne-Louise were just like doing a bit of tidying around the house, but it was summer, wasn't it?
It was.
And we had something heavy that I had to hoy into one of our recycling bins or whatever. And I was like, oh bloody hell, hoyed it in. The bin bounced because it was so heavy. I can't remember what it was. And I was wearing flip-flops and it landed on my toe. And I was like, I think I've just re-broken my toe. But I'd made a commitment. You should stick to your agreements, and actually it wasn't that bad. I just had a bad bruise, to be honest.
It's a heavy-ass sofa as well.
I just complained more than I probably should to Anne-Louise about all that. But hey, lovely new sofa. So, what are we talking about? Yeah, Twitter questions. Johnny P. Caddy says, do you guys think AEW needs an army-style faction like Bullet Club, NWO, or Aces and Eights to create a big buzz or draw attention back to the show, adding a more darker style wrestler like Darby Allin, Butcher and the Blade to the House of Black? So like, I assume he's suggesting there that like the Devil is purely targeting the world champion, whereas you want someone who's going to completely, like the NWO, just try and take over AEW, basically.
Interesting to think of. I like the idea of a more serious approach, for sure. I'm into that style of wrestling. I don't like all the whimsy that's crept into AEW over the past few months. It's not my thing. If you're into that, that's totally cool. We can like different things, like we say all the time. I personally, I wouldn't go for an NWO Bullet Club style deal because my goodness are those factions interference heavy. I think that those factions in particular, and Aces and Eights, are built on the kind of tropes that AEW actually needs to get away from.
Yeah, the Continental Classic has been the perfect antidote.
Yeah, like the identity of Bullet Club was that it was like a Western interference style heavy in a promotion that rarely does those things. It's a bit different for New Japan these days. Like their style has changed over the years, and Bullet Club is like part of the fabric of New Japan. That's what I should have said earlier, not furniture. Furniture is insulting. I'm sorry, Private Party. You're really good. But yeah, I would like a more serious stable. That if they get a bit of buzz, that's cool.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love NWO, Aces and Eights storyline, but I think the danger there, like you say, it's very interference heavy, and I am kind of wearing thin. I know we've got big Survivor Series stuff, so it applies to both promotions. I'm kind of getting a little bit bored of a super group of baby faces. Yeah. We've done that a lot this year. I think you're right. Just let's get back to, hey, why don't we just have one-on-one matches that finish because someone's better at wrestling than the other one?
Yeah.
So like when Jay White low blows someone, it has an impact rather than, oh, well, we've already seen 3 different people try and involve themselves in this match.
And that's the thing. Someone's going to come up and make a stupid argument about the casual fan TM now. But it's like, if you look at the metrics, when did AEW stop growing? Stopped growing when it started introducing these stupid whimsical storylines and an abundance of interferences and daft angles and stuff. The company was growing when it was adopting more of a sport-like feel.
Yeah.
When it was doing fewer
rankings.
Interferences. The rankings. And
bring them back.
Man. Yeah. So like there's a clear turning point there. And I don't really understand why so much of the card is so wacky now when it's clearly bad for business.
Yeah. Final question today comes from Ryan King, who says, happy Thanksgiving from across the pond, gents. Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
I wish we had Thanksgiving,
I do too.
Really jealous.
I used to be like, oh no, I don't do the American stuff. And I was like, wait a second, a day where you just get to eat turkey and watch football?
Yeah, it's like Christmas without the expense.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, maybe the meal, but I'm not cooking it.
I feel like we've adopted Black Friday over here. Why don't we just have the Turkey Day beforehand as well?
Yeah, my parents are over in Florida at the moment, visiting my cousins, and they're having a big Thanksgiving, sending me photos and stuff. I'm like,
That's what we should do every year. It's like, Andy and I are going to cover the Dynamite just before Thanksgiving. What? We're in America. What a coincidence. Anyway, since gratitude knows no international boundaries, quite right, Ryan, what one thing are you most thankful for this year in the world of wrestling? And there's a little turkey emojis put there. Thanks, Ryan.
I'll give you one thing from each major company in America. So WWE and AEW. Thankful for Gunther in WWE because he brings the style of wrestling that I'm really into the big glossy world of sports entertainment. And he's been great, and the company's had a really good year. And to me, he's been my favorite thing in it. He just brings a level of seriousness that I really appreciate. And speaking of that, in AEW, I'm really thankful for the Continental Classic.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful that we have a tournament that literally bans interferences. I think the lineup is really cool. I was popping watching the reveal last night on YouTube. Every name that came out was like, oh, Claudio, Brody, Roosh. It was awesome. I had a great time. I'm thankful that we can just have these 10 to 20 minute matches that are just pure wrestling with no silliness before we get into Adam and all of that stuff that I personally don't enjoy.
And I'll talk about my bollocks that I'm really enjoying this year, and that is everything on NXT and the Outrunners. Thank God for being introduced to them this year. If you're anything like
if you're anything like me, and I know I am.
And also, genuinely, I reiterated this yesterday, but I was really hungover. I'm thankful for everyone who supports the podcast, and especially people who came to our live show just the other night. You'll be able to see the footage of it on our podcast YouTube channel very soon. WhatCulture Wrestling Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, if you're listening to that. And hopefully, we're doing more of that sort of thing. But yes, thank you to everyone because... Oh, well, not only with the podcast, but this YouTube channel. Without you, we wouldn't get to do this, and it's a ridiculous job, so thank you.
And make videos like this.
Huh?
Peace.